Welcome to the X Block.
Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir! Then listen up.
You're listening to the X Block. I'm Jared, he's Caleb. Let's get into it.
You are listening to the X Block episode 9. I'm Jaren and I'm here with Caleb.
Oop.
And this is the world's #1 Xbox podcast.
100%.
Yes, it's confirmed now. Larry
Not
Herb said it on
probably
Twitter.
this week. Yeah, no, it's not probably anymore. Now we're certain about it. Actually, next week it might still be probably. But this week, nah, dude, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, things waffle, you know?
Yeah, I love waffles, you know?
Chicken and waffles.
I've actually never had chicken and waffles, if I'm being honest with you. Like, you know how that's talked about as like a common thing that everyone, you know, like chicken and waffles. It's like, I've never had that, and I live in the deep south.
I have also never had it before. I've just heard of it.
I feel like everyone's never had it before. Like, who's had chicken and waffles? Like, somebody's had them. What's the percentage of the population in the U.S., Canada, you know, North America, if you will, maybe Mexico too? How many people have had chicken and waffles, Jam?
You know what? Probably 5%.
I feel like everybody's a poser. That's all I have to say about that.
Speaking of posers, no one can see us, but I'm wearing sunglasses.
It is 11:56 p.m. where you are.
Yep.
Why are you wearing sunglasses, Jam?
My screen was really bright and I couldn't figure out how to turn it down.
You just go into your settings.
I don't know why it's strangely bright today.
It's not. I don't. I'm not having this conversation with you. This isn't. I'm not doing this. So it's over. That's it.
So what have you been playing this week?
What have I been playing? I can tell you what I've been doing this week, I guess. That's also relevant.
Sounds good.
Yesterday I thought I was dying of COVID, but then I got tested. Turns out I'm good, so that's pretty sweet. Just watched Mortal Kombat, the movie, got out of the theater like 2 hours before recording this, and that movie's awesome. Just gonna throw that out there. It's not, if you're expecting like, I don't know, what's that movie called?
Citizen Kane?
Yeah, if you're expecting Citizen Kane, it's not Citizen Kane. But if you're like, I want a Mortal Kombat movie, and I want it to be a good Mortal Kombat movie, and you want it to have all the Mortal Kombat aspects, then you'll be hyped for Mortal Kombat. That's all I have to say about it. Really good. Good choreography. Story's passable. Just a fun time. I watched it in theaters. If you don't want to get COVID, though, dude, go fucking watch it on HBO, right? It's on HBO, right?
Just in the States.
True? Oh, well, you know, get fucked. But, yeah, so it's a good movie. Recommend it. What have I been playing this week, though? That's a great question. I played a bit of Call of Duty with some friends because I hate being alive, as usual. And then I've been playing Saints Row 4 Re-elected. So, you know how you and I have been playing Saints Row the 3rd? You know, for like a few weeks, we played it, and then we got all the achievements. That made me go back to Saints Row 3 on the 360 and was like, what achievements didn't I get in this game? Turns out, all the challenges. So I went and got them. Took a while. Then I was like, what about Saints Row 4? Did I perfect that game? Turns out, didn't. You know what I didn't do, Jaren? You know what I didn't do? The challenges. That's right, the challenges. So I went back, but that game, much easier to get all the challenges in, because if you, on Saints Row 4 Re-elected, you have access to all the DLC or whatever, then you can just do DLC kills, and those counts as aliens, because main thing is you need to kill aliens, and they're like gone at the end of the game, but like DLC enemies count as aliens, even if they're not. It's weird. Anyway, got all the challenges in that, and completed the game. Then I thought, wait a minute. Pretty sure Jaren and I played Get Out of Hell in like 2015, right? That like standalone DLC game.
Mm-hmm, we did.
And so I checked, and we did. And I guess what I didn't have?
The challenges.
The challenges. But that game has more than all the others. That game has 100 and I think 1 or 6 or some shit challenges. And I was missing like 50. And I looked, and I'm pretty sure I can get them all. Like post-game, you know? Or I'm like at the right before the final where you confront Satan and like, or whatever the hell the final mission is.
I loaded that every day.
I know you do. And I loaded up that save, and I think I'm at like 80 something challenges out of 101 now. And mainly all I have left is just a bunch of weapon grinding. So I just run around, you know, and shoot demons, and then have more demons spawn, and then kill them with whatever I have to kill them with. It's pretty grindy. I just listen to podcasts and watch shit. So that's pretty cool. And that's mainly what I've been playing. I played a little bit of Sea of Thieves like a couple days ago or something, the new update. It's pretty cool. Sea of Thieves, still a really good game. And that's all I have to say for this week. What about you, man? What have you been playing?
Myself, haven't seen my girlfriend in a while.
Oh, that's disappointing. That's no fun. Any games?
You saw me playing NHL.
Did I? Did I see you playing that?
I was on there,
Jay,
slapping some pucks, slapping some boys.
Right now.
You know?
You all right?
Oh, no, I could use a nap, but you know what? It's time
What?
for a podcast.
Oh, okay. So NHL slapping pucks.
Yeah, slapping
Which-
some boys, slapping some pucks, you know.
Okay. In real life, or
Couple of hockey pucks, get pucks deep, win some hockey games. You know how it is.
yeah, pucks in the net, pucks downrange. Yeah.
And I actually got 725 gamer score in that.
Jesus. Did you,
Yeah,
did you just start that?
wild.
You played the demo for like 10 hours, right?
I did, and I only had 100.
Oh, well. Good for you, man. You just
Yeah.
been sporting it out. I think you said you were going to be sporting it out for a while last week, so.
Yeah, I've played some MLB The Show 21. Had to get my reviews ready.
I was going to say, we do have a review roundup coming up, spoilers, for the rest of the podcast. So I'm going to let you, you want to talk about that then or now? You want to wait? Want to tease it out a little bit?
Yeah, I'll talk about it a bit then.
Okay, a little bit of a teaser.
And I also, which you wouldn't have seen because I didn't play it on my account, I played a bit of Spiritfarer.
Ooh, are the achievements in that game any good, Jaron? Just, do I need to play it on my alt account?
They didn't look like something I wanted to be that involved in getting, so I decided to play it on my alt account.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, I don't think they're unobtainable. It's just going to take a while.
Any non-spoiler related kind of impressions, or would you rather we save it for our...
No, I think we can talk about it a bit here. I've only played it for about 2 hours.
Okay. How long is it? I mean, I know nothing about this game, so...
In True Achievements, it says it's like 30 to 40, but that could be the full completion.
Jesus. I was going to say, if that... I don't know if I'm going to play that game for 30 or 40 hours.
Yeah, I don't know if I will. It's not quite my type of game, but that being said, I still think it's pretty good in the art style. It looks really nice.
Okay, cool. So
I was still enjoying my 2 hours for a game that is not traditionally my kind of game.
very nice. Looking up Jaren, that's high praise. You're not the target audience, yet here you are, singing its praises.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. The characters are cool. Start of the story was pretty good. There's a weird deer lady. She's fun.
What does that mean?
You'll have to find out.
I guess I will when I finally install it. Spoilers for the Game Pass or gameplay. I don't even know if we have that segment this week. I haven't even touched it. Haven't downloaded it. I will play it for the episode. Is it next episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. No,
Is
because
it?
that would be the 20. No, yeah, because it would come out. Yeah, because I'm looking at my calendar now, but the episode would release on in May. So yes. Anyway, I will have it played by then. At least 5 hours, enough to talk about it.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, we should probably move on to some outside the box.
Thinking outside the box.
Where we cover all the news you need to know outside the Xbox community.
I'm drinking tea.
The first story, I guess multiple stories actually, we're going to dive into a little bit of Sony news and how it's related to Xbox. And the first one on the docket, Sony actually directly relates it to Xbox themselves.
Good for them.
So Jim Ryan says Sony is devising a cloud strategy that will be unique and only on PlayStation. And then after that, he talks about how Microsoft is helping them make it and that they've been heavily involved in the process. So I'm not quite sure how it's unique and only on PlayStation, but he's got to hit those buzzwords when he talks to all the Sony fans, right?
Yeah, so Jim Ryan is, just for people who don't know, SIE or Sony Interactive Entertainment's CEO. So basically head of PlayStation, all those types of things. And this boy, so part of the story, I assume, is in 2019. I think it was Xbox, or rather Microsoft, Satya Nadella being the CEO of Microsoft and the head of PlayStation at the time, which I can't remember. I don't think that was Jim Ryan at the time, or head of Sony, actually. So yeah, the head of Sony made some sort of deal where they exchanged tech and stuff like that. Sony gave Microsoft some sort of tech info knowledge. I'm not very privy to what was exchanged specifically. And then in return, Xbox let Sony license their Azure cloud servers. And so this is just kind of the next bit of info we have on that, right?
Yeah, and they say, Jim Ryan says, we're still talking to them about exchanging ideas, and there's some very interesting stuff. So when the time is right, we'll announce our cloud strategy. So it sounds like Microsoft is actively involved in all of this.
Sony has their Gaikai shit that they bought for PS Now, and I don't know, dude, for this cloud shit, they're relying on Xbox because they don't want to deal with, or Microsoft because they don't want to deal with Amazon.
Yeah, dude, but they're up to 2.2 million subscribers as of April 2020.
Oh, yeah, with the PS Now.
Yeah,
I
dude.
imagine that's probably 3.5 million by now, maybe 3 million, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Well, Microsoft just crossed over 23 million with Game Pass.
Yeah, they increased, 3 million in the first, 4 months or something of this year, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, Sony trying to get some sort of cloud server stuff from Microsoft because they don't want to deal with other companies, I guess. And Microsoft will have some sort of direct involvement and cut in whatever the hell cloud-related Sony and by extension PlayStation ends up doing in the future.
Yep. The next Sony story, Sony confirms it's testing PlayStation Plus Video Pass in Poland. So remember I think it was last week when we mentioned that Sony had some kind of answer to Game Pass, or was that 2 weeks ago?
I think it was last week. It was David Jaffe talking to somebody on his podcast that the info came out or something that they were like, we have that PlayStation's working. I think David Jaffe specifically said that he knows that PlayStation's
David Jaffe
working.
said that people at Sony had told him that they were working on a counterpunch to Game Pass. But I actually do think it was 2 episodes ago because last week was about Resident Evil was in the title.
Okay, well, sure. Whenever. You should go listen to both those episodes and find out yourself, am I right?
There you go. Throw into our own product. He's a master marketer right there.
Yeah, so anyway, for this story, it's a PlayStation Plus Video Pass launching in Poland.
So
Test
it
service.
seems Sony's testing out this as kind of like something that they would add into PlayStation Plus. I'm not sure if it'll be like extra on top of that, but I like how they're phrasing this, like all the game sites have phrased this as like, oh, Sony's gonna give extra value to PlayStation Plus by bundling in movies and that kind of stuff after they canceled the PlayStation Store and told them that you wouldn't be able to buy movies anymore. Now the only way that you're going to be able to get at least Sony related movies on a PlayStation platform seems to be from this PlayStation Plus Video Pass if they decide to come out with that. And wasn't it just like, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago, where Microsoft was slammed for trying to make a multimedia machine and PlayStation was the games only machine and everyone praised it?
Yeah, I've seen parallels to that. I've seen people online talking about that. It's for the specific news in Poland, specific, I guess, PS4 and PS5 users with PlayStation Plus are getting access to over 20 movies and television shows from Sony Pictures as part of their subscription, and the test will run for a year. The SIE Global Services VP Nick McGuire told a certain website, Spider's Web, I don't know what that is, they said the company decided to hold the test in Poland based on specific data, and that Sony would monitor the popularity of the service before deciding on a full launch. Quote, "We want to see how players will benefit from each service," he explained. Quote, "What titles do they watch? What do they care about? How often do they use them?" And then he said, "At this stage, however, I cannot say whether it will be created and what the test process will look like for other markets, as well as what the future is for PlayStation Plus Video Pass after this test period." And I don't know what they're doing. Like, first of all, why Poland? Second of all, is this supposed to just be like an equivalent to a Game Pass Ultimate perk, that Xbox has, but like directly related to Sony's own products? Like, I don't know what they're going for here. It's a nice perk, I guess, if you got this value, like if they actually implemented this everywhere and you got this value as a PS Plus subscriber, then, you get these 20 TV shows and movies from Sony and all that shit. Like, you're like, I haven't seen Venom yet. Like, cool, get to fucking watch Venom. But otherwise, I don't really know what's going on there. And you're right, where with Microsoft and the whole movie thing in 2013 with like the Xbox One being tied to like sports and TV and cable box and all this other shit. It's just very weird.
Yeah, and also just bundling this in with how this kind of stuff works throughout the world. I imagine they started testing it in Poland because that also could be one of the only places where they own all the rights to these movies to put them wherever they want. Because I assume you can't just start a competing streaming service in the States when Netflix has the rights to Venom and your Spider-Man movies going forward, as well as Disney Plus has rights to the Spider-Man movies. I don't know if Sony could then start a streaming service and offer their own movies and include it in something.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I didn't really think about that. This news is kind of tangentially related to gaming. It's kind of really out there. It's not even super big news. It's just kind of like weird news. I don't really even know.
Yeah, I want to know if this is part of their answer. It definitely doesn't
affect me.
To Game Pass.
That's
like,
that's
this
the
their
question,
thing?
right? Yeah, is that part of it? Because this didn't leak, right? Like, they just announced this. Oh no, it said the service, which was leaked via PlayStation.com yesterday. And then I don't know, dude. Who cares about your fucking Sony movies? I'm out. I'm bailing on this conversation.
It's a weird thing because Sony did just start the whole PlayStation movies division where they're kind of taking their games and converting them into movies. But then the first thing they did was license a big chunk of those movies to Netflix as they like come out. They come out in theaters first, and then they immediately go to Netflix. That's like the deal they made outside of the HBO show. So that means that they at least can't launch this service as an extra to their PlayStation Plus service in America, at least, and Canada probably for the next like 3 years.
Yeah, interesting.
So,
but they're testing it though, just in a very long roundabout way.
All right. Well, let's move on from that, and we'll just quickly talk about the last thing from Sony. Get over with our Sony news, and This one, the only reason I put this in was because Sony signs a new multiplayer game deal with ex-Halo, Destiny, COD devs at Firewalk Studios. So this was following a deal with Assassin's Creed designer Jade Raymond, and this is also on the back of Sony saying, oh, we're actually going to have more exclusives this generation than anyone actually knows about. But like, I remember Sony as a thing. Like their third-person action is their thing. Like that's what they're known for. They used to have a first-person shooter in Killzone, and then they kind of just abandoned it, and Microsoft has always been the place for first-person shooters.
Was Resistance a first-person shooter, or was it a third-person? I never played those games.
I think Resistance was also a first-person shooter, so they did try to do that a bunch, like right at the start of the PlayStation 3, and then even early on the PlayStation 4 with Killzone. So yeah, it seems like Microsoft's always been Halo. They've always been the place for first-person shooters. They had the Call of Duty exclusivity until Sony outpaid them for it.
Yeah, essentially.
But my other question about this is like Sony's also kind of been linked to quality games. And both of these last two deals that we talked about, the Jade Raymond one and this one, the Firewalk Studio one, seem like, hey, you guys just started something. Here's money and we're going to announce it like it's 100% going to be a good thing that our players should be excited about. And that's even how it's being covered in the news. Like IGN covered it as like big exclusive news from Sony, and it's like they partnered up with a studio that's never made a game, and
yeah, they have decent talent, I guess, but it's like this is just a second party relationship they're forming with this studio to publish their game on PlayStation platforms exclusively. And at this point, I mean, it'll be good for their portfolio, I guess, because I think they're working on a multiplayer game, if I'm not mistaken, and they do need more multiplayer games. I mean, like I heard on another podcast, someone say, you know, at least this studio has a logo this time, because when they announced Jade Raymond's partnership, that was with Sony, that was like so out of nowhere, like clearly unprepared. That studio doesn't even have a logo yet, and at least the studio has a logo going on. But I would like to see. It's interesting news if you're a PlayStation fan specifically, especially if you're a fan of first-person shooters and multiplayer games. But this is news where like, how long will this take to? I mean, they say the new game is already playable, is what it said. This person told PlayStation Blog that Firewalk's new game is already playable. And they're aiming to create water cooler type moments where like stuff happens when you're playing and it's like, did you see that? That's cool kind of shit.
Yeah, they're aiming to make Call of Duty.
Yeah, so I guess maybe I was thinking it might come out way later, but maybe it'll come out sooner. I don't know, but playable can mean a few things though. Like it could still come out like 2 years, and it's like
Cyberpunk was playable 3 years ago.
Yeah, maybe
or
it's
at least
great.
Part of it.
Someone like me though, like that's in the Sony ecosystem, and I see something like that, and I'd be like, even if it was on Xbox and they announced that, I'm like, well, is it coming to Game Pass? Because if not, like, I don't know.
It seems like Sony is trying to bolster their exclusives down the line, because they know that at least at the start of this generation with Returnal and Ratchet and Clank that they're gonna have the games. But I think they're scared of, as Microsoft will, because everyone pretty much assumes almost at this point that Microsoft's gonna come in and buy up a Sega or buy up a Square Enix or buy up a Konami. And that means that when these, like maybe not this game, but when the Jade Raymond game's possibly coming out, or this game still doesn't sound that close, like by the time these games start coming out, they could be at a point where Sony's developing on their normal release scale, where they have 1 to 2 games every year, and then they sometimes have years where they have 3. And Microsoft could be coming out with like 4 to 5 games a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
So it seems like they're boosting up to try to get ready to fight, but they're doing the same thing that Microsoft was like getting criticized for, is they're like grabbing a bunch of teams that no one's ever heard of and being like, these people are going to make games. And everyone's like, yeah, but they've never made a game.
It's just like for Xbox, they buy shit now, and then they also make these agreements and put shit in Game Pass. Typically, they're not exclusive to Game Pass, but in Xbox, but some games are now second party relationships with Xbox and then go into Game Pass. And then usually, you know, can go to other platforms like 6 months to a year later, whatever. But Sony's just in a position where they're like asking like, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? I.e., like, why buy studios and these other things when we can just pay for exclusive exclusive second party kind of publishing rights and shit, and from these studios. But the question, like, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? And then Microsoft's answer is like, because then you don't have the cow.
Well, the cow can't make games for other people later.
Yeah, Microsoft just buys the cow and then they have it and it's theirs, and no one else can have milk unless they say so. But Sony's just out there making these deals, just kind of, that's how they have to do that because they're a smaller company, and it makes sense financially for them. It probably works for them, so it's I guess, a good thing. But it is always a weird thing, though, where, like, Xbox got the Rise of the Tomb Raider exclusivity deal for a while, published on Xbox in, like, 2015. And then people, like, go read up on articles. The whole game industry was so upset that Microsoft got the publishing rights for Tomb Raider. But then when Sony does shit like this, everyone's like, that's fine. It's cool. Usually. Not all the time, but, a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, of course Sony has like a 1-year exclusivity with Final Fantasy. And then Microsoft gets like you see like a Tomb Raider publishing right, and they're like, what the fuck? Why can't I play Tomb Raider on PlayStation?
Could you imagine if Microsoft had the 1-year exclusivity to the sequel to Final Fantasy VII?
No, I mean, I could, but I don't know. People would be upset because, I mean, it's traditionally a PlayStation game anyway, but that's not the point.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's like only traditionally a PlayStation game because Xbox was an American-made console. That doesn't mean anything when everyone goes, oh, that game was traditionally a PlayStation game. And it's like, well, yeah, because the PlayStation was around for longer and Xbox wasn't even relevant until the 360.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. But for this news in particular, like, good for PlayStation, I guess. The talent is probably decent. We'll see what the game is. No one knows yet.
Yep. So moving on, finally, from the Sony news, thank God. Lots of people missed Resident Evil 8's weird time demo. And, like, I thought about this when we talked about it, but, like, looking back on it now, it's, like, so clearly been like proven. They literally put out an 8-hour window to play their demo in like where one part of the world can play it and then the other half of the world is doing other shit.
Yeah, the key to this story is, Resident Evil 8. I didn't really understand exactly what it meant. I thought you only had like a certain amount of time to play the game. I didn't really read up on this a ton because I don't care too much about Resident Evil, but now I understand it way more. And the demo went live for 8 hours starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time on April 17th, and you had 8 hours to play it. And then you couldn't play it anymore. Nobody could play it anymore. And IGN and their not the headline, but probably is it the byline, the line that's below the headline. Anyway, they what do you call it? Sum it up well when they say 8 hours is 0 hours if it happens while you're sleeping. ... And you're like, that's a great point, IGN. Who wrote this? Matt Perslow. Good for you. That was pretty funny. That made me laugh.
Yeah, it's such a weird decision. Like, at least make the 8 hours, like they said in this article, like if it's 8 hours from 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to whenever, then do the same thing in the other place. Make it 5 p.m. till whenever.
Yeah.
Like over in England, it's okay, it starts at 5 p.m. their time and goes till whenever it goes till. Don't make it 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and then just that's it for the whole rest of the world.
Yeah. So you're right. That requires more work, maybe, or not. But regardless, Capcom doesn't care. And they didn't do it that way. And IGN got to write a funny article about it.
Yeah, dude, this was one of the things that Sony invested for, too, to get this demo.
Shout out to you if you were sleeping during the demo.
If you have a PS5 and you were sleeping during the demo, let us know. Because you really aren't you glad they canceled Days Gone to have more money?
No shit.
And a last quick thing, just be careful, Xbox players, PlayStation players, PC players, whoever. There's gonna be spoilers because apparently Resident Evil Village is out in the wild now. So yeah, just keep your head up.
Yeah, someone with a PEGI rating on the box, so it's probably in Europe. Somebody got a copy, or it looks like they have of the front of the box and the back of the box, and they took pictures of it, apparently. So yeah, like what Jaren said, you could see spoilers out there. If you care.
Yep. So keep attention to that. Another quick story that we're pretty much just going to tear through. Square Enix is back. They're going to be at E3. They've announced, which leads me to believe that they won't be bought before E3 if that was ever going to happen.
Yeah, we back, boys. That's a good point, Jeremy.
So there you go. Square Enix is going to be at E3.
You will almost certainly see more of Final Fantasy 16 if that's what you're into.
And whatever that game is that they're making just for Sony. And I assume Avengers content as
oh fucking yeah,
whatever.
Spider-Man, good hype, fucking 10 years from now.
So yeah, there you go. Square Enix is coming to E3. Caleb and I'll probably cover it. We'll have a good whole E3 slate of stuff for you when E3 happens. Don't you worry.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a great time. Get hype.
And in the final news of Outside the Box, Knights of the Old Republic could possibly be getting a remake being developed at Aspire. It's Aspire. Aspire.
They're being
Media.
Cheeky. Like it's the word aspire. Like I aspire to be like that person. They're just being cheeky with it.
You know what? I don't like them.
I like them. They're all right. They did the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer game. That port from the N64 game to modern consoles that came out last year on Xbox. That was my favorite game of last year. They did that port, so I like them.
But are they just, like, everyone says this is a remake, But can they make a remake? It seems like all they do is make ports.
I don't know. I don't actually know that they're remaking it. I think the story is they're either remaking or remastering it. And the main thing that I know is that Mr. Matty Plays, the YouTuber, he's the one who kind of put together that Aspire Media was working on this in like February. But then everyone started reporting on this story now because like Jason Schreier said something, and like no one credited Mr. Matty Plays except when the former senior editor of IGN, Colin Moriarty, brought it up on Twitter, and then Ryan McCaffrey, said like, let me know where's the evidence, and I'll change the story. So then they updated the story, and I think IGN may be the only website that anyways updated the story to show that this person was the one who put it together first. But just throwing that out there.
VGC's pointing out that like what they're saying is not that Knights of the Old Republic is being worked on at Aspire Media. It's that it is more of a remake.
If it is more of a remake, then that's cool because it needs to be more of a remake. I don't even think you can use the Y-axis in that game. It's just like you turn left or right. You can't even look up or down.
I didn't get to the end.
Yeah, so it's passable. Yeah, So for those of you who don't know, I played the game a bunch because I love that game, and it was on the original Xbox, and I love Star Wars, and it's a great, fantastic game. Played it multiple times, which I usually don't do for those kind of RPGs, but I had way more time back then, and I cared less. Jaren played the game recently, like a year or two ago. He went through it, and he got to like 3/4 of the way through the game, a little over from what he told me where he was at, and then he hit a game-breaking bug, and he couldn't progress. And he tried many, many things, and so he never got to play it.
Yeah, never got to finish it, but we did tell you guys about that. I think it was like 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, you gotta keep into the X Block lore. Then we don't have to repeat ourselves if you listen to everything.
It's true. Anybody who's listening to that, make sure you're out there putting up the wiki for the X Block lore.
Yeah, when you write our Knights of the Old Republic segment on there.
And that is all for Outside the Box. We are now moving into the review roundup.
In a world where reviews are too long to read and review videos are too long to watch, one man will compile all of the reviews and turn them into one easily digestible stream of information. This is the review roundup.
And by golly gee, Caleb, we actually have something to talk about.
Oh, gee whiz, Jaren. That's swell, guy.
Now, MLB The Show 21, making its appearance on Xbox.
Can I say something, Jaren? Real quick?
Yep.
Okay. I know nothing, really. I don't watch baseball. I don't play MLB. Never played MLB. Never really played any MLB game or any baseball game on Xbox or PlayStation, except like once, like 10 years ago, for very briefly. So you're going to handle this segment the whole way. Take it away.
It's the same game it's been for the last 3 years.
All right, moving on. No, I'm kidding. Tell me more, Jared. Give us the review roundup. For all the folks out there, let us know. You played it. How does it make you feel? What's everyone saying about it?
All right, so it's clearly the best baseball game that you can play. There's not anything to like dispute there. That being said, if you compare this, I watched Digital Foundry's video, and if you compare this to the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One X, all that kind of stuff, the game's basically the same game. There are some features that are added only on the next gen, like the Stadium Creator and stuff like that, which are cool additions, but they clearly made this game with all of the consoles in mind, and the fact that they've never developed on an Xbox console shows up every once in a while with like a few frame rate drops, but never during gameplay. It runs slightly better on the PlayStation. Obviously, that's expected. They're a Sony first-party studio.
Yeah, I mean, that makes it. That studio's never made MLB for Xbox, and even if they did have before, they developed this game for PlayStation first, and then they make it the changes they need to put it on Xbox. So that just makes sense.
Yeah, everyone seems to be hovering around the same thing from like a 7 to an 8.
That's actually lower than I would have expected that game to be from how high of a regard it's held in.
Well, it's because it's, like I said, it's the same game. Like there's not very many changes. There's like a few like fundamental game changes. This is what happens when you make a game every single year.
I was going to say, does it need to be iterative though? Or does it just need to be good again and better in a few ways? Or maybe like better graphically, better
Like for Xbox people, this is a 9 out of 10. They've never had a baseball game before. That's like any relevance.
Relative.
If you compare this to like RBI baseball and you're on the Xbox, which if you listen to this podcast, I assume you are. If you've never had a real baseball game before, this game's fantastic. Go play this game. If you've played the previous iterations of this game, there's not much for you here. you might as well play the previous iteration.
There's no barrier to entry if you have Game Pass. Whereas if you're on PlayStation, go fork up 70 pesos for it.
Yeah, then you're doing the same thing that you have to do with EA games every year, where you pay a fortune to get the same game. Or you can just wait and get it in EA access. But you can't do that on the PlayStation. You've got to pay for this game full price. And like playing it as like someone who played every single one except last year's, I don't see that much of a difference between this game and 2 years ago. Obviously, there's there's improvements like
So the Stadium Creator, that's not a big deal?
I haven't even dabbled with it because like I'm playing a baseball game. I don't care about making a stadium.
That's true, man. That's a very niche thing for people who want to get really deep. Most people just want to play baseball, especially given that they're sports gamers, which are known for being casual. So good point.
Yeah, so I've been playing it. Road to the Show's cool. They have these new like podcast like segments where people talk about your player. It's weird because like obviously they make no direct reference to what's going on, but that's expected in a sports game. You can get around that by not having actual people do it and just having like the computer react to your stuff. But so that's cool. They took some things out that I liked in the previous baseball game that I played where it was like more of like a fun, less of like this super hardcore realistic sim, but it's still a really good baseball game. Like I've been enjoying my time with it. It's just, there's no like significant jump like we saw with NBA 2K21 and on the next gen consoles. And I don't want to give that game too much credit because obviously we know the whole reason there was a significant jump there was because they totally neglected the current gen version and spent 2 years working on the next gen version, thus why there was a leap. If Sony San Diego, would have spent the same amount of time on a next gen version as they did, then this game would look definitively better.
Yeah, maybe they should just have a MLB The Show game every 2 years, Maybe that'll make it more worth it, especially if you're somebody on PlayStation paying $70 for it. But we're an Xbox podcast, so fuck it.
That should be the same thing with every sports game, but that's not going to happen because
of the money.
As we're going to find out, they're going to probably sell 15, 20 million units of this game, and everyone who buys it is going to be like, it's a great baseball game.
Yeah, it's like you want quality or quantity. It's like you could have the best quality, or you could have quantity that's pretty good quality, but kind of not as iterative. And it's like, well, depending on who you are, you may just want the game every year. I didn't play it, but all I'll say about this game is it's funny how much Xbox is trying to steal sales away from PlayStation and make you play this on Xbox. They took out 2 tiles on the homepage, like 2 tiles, like one side by side, or these 2 tiles side by side that make one image, of like a baseball diamond.
Yep.
And so they were advertising MLB The Show that way.
They funny. Also took out 2 tiles behind a baseball player in an actual baseball game, like the ads that run.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, the ads that like run on an actual baseball game, like on TV live.
Oh, you mean that? No, okay, so that wasn't what I was thinking of, but I've heard what you're saying. Like in a real life baseball game, behind the batter's box or whatever, behind home plate, it just said Xbox or some shit, right?
Yeah, it said Xbox Game Pass, and it had the picture of the MLB The Show game.
That's such great, dude. I don't know who's over there at Microsoft and Xbox figuring that shit out, but that's what you need to be doing. That's the marketing you want.
So they're out there, they're grinding. They're trying to pull people in.
Do not buy this on PlayStation. We already paid MLB. Just come play it here, and PlayStation doesn't get any money.
Yeah, so they're out there. They're hustling. They're trying to bring people over. Yeah, honestly, if you're on Xbox and you've never had this game before because you've only ever been on Xbox, play the game. It's great. It's a great baseball game. You have
what was that game?
Nothing to compare it to.
Sorry to interrupt. What was that game? There's a baseball game where you can
Super
beat people
Mega
up?
Baseball.
Is it where you can beat people up as you play? Like you can be mean and.
Oh no, you can't. I don't think you can beat them up. No, that's just like a cartoony version of baseball.
Yeah, but what game is that though? That game where you can just you just hit people and shit, Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I've played a baseball game like that before. Somebody might know what I'm talking about.
2K used to make sports games where like they had NHL hits, and I don't know if they had a baseball version of that where you could legitimately just beat people
Here's
up.
What I'll say. The only baseball game I've ever played on a console was one day for an hour at a friend's house on the PS3 back in 2000 and fucking 9, 8, who knows? That's the only time I've ever played a baseball game. And I just thought that'd be an interesting anecdote for people. And I just remember that you could I thought you could beat people up or some shit.
Yeah,
maybe the baseball was on fire too. I don't know. It was crazy. Who knows what I really played?
But if this ever does get rolled on the on the roulette wheel of our Game Pass or gameplay, Caleb. It does have easy achievements.
Nah, yeah, but then I gotta play it. I don't know.
It has easy achievements for the first time ever,
just
because
don't
the trophy
care
list
about
was
playing
always
baseball.
terrible
I don't care about
on
playing
PlayStation.
baseball, man.
Well, moving away from the first review roundup in weeks, we're now going to get into the X Block. And our first topic on the X Block, Caleb, is no more need for gold to play free games.
This has been a developing story.
Yeah, we've been following it the whole way along. Xbox has detailed its plans to make online multiplayer in free-to-play games available to Xbox users who don't have an Xbox Live Gold subscription.
Yeah, so you can do it now. You have access to your free-to-play games. You can do party chat, and you can do looking for groups without an Xbox Live Gold subscription. We could talk more about it, but we've talked about it a lot. I think last
It's pretty
week
self-explanatory.
and the week before that. It's like, this should have been done a while ago. It's nice. The looking for groups is also a part of that. And now that's just another good thing Xbox did once they tried to bump the price up to push people to Game Pass. Like, that's it.
Yeah, this is what happened because you guys complained and made them switch it back.
This happened. And you're right, Jared. I need people to keep complaining about what they want so that shit like this can happen. This doesn't even affect me. It's just pretty cool. It's like consumer friendly.
Yeah, like we got gold. We want to play games.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that story is pretty. Even though it's big news, overall, I guess. But we've known about it. It's self-explanatory. So.
Yep, and this one's also pretty self-explanatory. Discord is reportedly going to stay independent, and it ends talks with Microsoft.
I was gonna say it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's a little bit deeper. And why is that, Jaron? Because I feel like you know.
Well, it's a little bit deeper because we lose a lot of like the potential features that we could have had.
Yeah, Discord
But-
integration deeper into Xbox. Obviously.
That being said, I like Discord kind of the way it is now.
Me too.
And I didn't
using it
really
right
want
now
to have
to record this
podcast. We are using it to record this podcast. And I didn't really want to have to like link it all up with all my Microsoft stuff and all that kind of thing. So I'm not exactly upset that Discord's not moving over there.
Yeah, Jared and I, but for those of you wouldn't know, but Jared and I talk to each other on Discord, but natively record our audio in OBS, and then I send it to Jared. He edits it all. I like Discord too on its own, and I would be notified to sign into a Microsoft account. Mainly, this means we're not going to get any deep. They may still do stuff regardless of acquisition or no acquisition, but we're probably not going to get anytime soon any deeper Discord integration like into Xbox. I don't even think you can download Discord on Xbox, and that would have been nice to have in like another chat service and shit. But also, Microsoft could have fucked it up like they do a lot of things like that. And they could have just, got rid of it if it got fucked up too bad, like they did with Beam, which became Mixer, which then went away, kind of shit like that. But it's not coming, but that means that Microsoft has more money to spend on other things. So
Yeah. Watch out, Square. I know you don't want to be bought, but they got an extra $10 billion for you now.
I was going to say, that's the main thing. If Microsoft as a corporation isn't spending all that money on Discord, like we assumed that they probably would be, because it seemed like the deals were going well, that means that they have the money isn't spent. So now they're probably going to spend it on something else. Maybe just your favorite video game publisher. So watch out. And then also I'll say for Discord, this could have been a thing. It looks like they were actually looking to sell, to be acquired. It could also be like many companies though, that they didn't want to sell and they just wanted to get a price.
I hope that Tencent doesn't buy them now.
That's a great point for real, but yeah, that's another question entirely.
Well, moving on to the next story. Xbox confirms cloud gaming test for PC and Apple devices. And they sent out messages on Xbox Live to people who were, I guess, part of this.
We have been talking about this for weeks as well, because, Phil just kept saying soon, and everybody else just kept saying soon. And I guess now they're finally sending out some sort of invitations. I think it's Game Pass Ultimate members in like 22 countries.
Yeah, I got one.
I don't think I did, but I would need to check my email more deeply. So there you go.
Yeah, so will I be doing this? Probably not.
You need your Apple. If you have an iPhone, you need a Bluetooth controller or device connected to it, and there's you can access 100 games and shit, and it's pretty cool. So I am excited for this. But first of all, I would have to get a job where I actually leave my house often enough, and I would need it to work pretty well, because I would like to play some games on the go sometimes. But at this point, I don't really have a reason to play xCloud on my phone. But I like the option. And that's what's great about Xbox. They got a lot of options.
The one thing I will say about this, the Apple thing is big because it's mobile.
Yes.
I honestly think that the biggest thing that isn't talked about a lot here is for PC.
And yeah, why is that, Jim?
Because a lot of these games run on the cloud. I believe that they can, either they're working their way there, or they'll be there eventually up to that 4K, like ray tracing enabled, all that kind of stuff. Like we will get there at some point in the next year.
Yeah.
And unless you have a multi-$1,000 computer, then you're not going to be able to play half of that stuff. Microsoft Flight Simulator like destroys GPUs and
it's good for
things
game
if you want to play
testing,
it at its highest. Yeah, it's good for game testing.
If you don't want to download a game, you can just stream it. And
if you have this internet, like the internet capabilities to do this, this is honestly a way to avoid having to buy an expensive computer, and you can honestly just use your MacBook laptop that you use for everything else, and you can play all these games just streamed.
Yeah, and it's great for a Mac, because I don't have a Mac laptop, but I actually didn't think about it, because I only thought about it in terms of Windows PCs and iPhones. But yeah, if you're like at your office running a Mac computer, that's also a great point. So it's pretty good as an option, and like Jaron said, if you don't want to download games, and if you don't have the most beefy computer, and it's cool. We don't know how well it works now, or at least I haven't used it. I've heard good things from people, but that could just be like good speaking because they want to be on good terms with Microsoft or something. I don't know. I haven't used it, and I don't know how it runs. You'll have to maybe tell me if you end up using it on your iPhone. If you don't, doesn't bother me though. I don't care, because like why would you at this point? You don't really go anywhere, you know? I don't either.
Yeah, I think it gets a boost by people surprised at how well it works. I've used it a couple times on my phone just to grab like an extra like Game Pass quest. If I don't want to install the game, I might boot it up on my phone and grab the quest if it's already a game that I've played. And it's not like the best running thing. It actually runs much better than I expected to most of the time.
That's good.
But
it
also,
probably
I
is
feel like
passable,
if I had less devices on my network, it would run much better, but I have a lot of those.
It's a lot of factors. They're testing it. Hopefully it gets better and improves over time. Thankfully it's not Stadia, so it's not the only way you can fucking play the game. The point is, it's an additive bonus that you get, so.
Yep. And speaking of additive bonuses that you get, FPS boosts and Game Pass news coming up. The first one,
fuck yeah,
an FPS boost, Caleb. Battlefield, Titanfall, and more EA games get FPS boosts on Xbox Series X and S. I believe Battlefield and Titanfall, and as well as Mirror's Edge, Catalyst.
I mean, I'll read the list real quick if you want me to. It's like very quick.
Well, I think just like some of them no one really cares that much about. So the main ones are like Battlefield and Titanfall are at 120 hertz now, as well as the Star Wars Battlefront games will also be at 120 hertz. Everything else is kind of
Plants vs. Zombies games as well.
Yeah, I feel like most people have nailed those. But there you go. So 120 hertz for all of those except Sea of Solitude, which is 60 hertz. That's only on the X, though.
I don't think I can use it, man, because Juwan and I think I've mentioned on the show before, have been playing. We play a bit of Star Wars Battlefront 2. We've actually been playing, he's been playing, I should say, a bit more Star Wars Battlefront 1 with me, because there's an achievement to get to level 50, and we're just kind of slowly grinding that a bit. And that game doesn't look as good as Battlefront 2, but the FPS boosts are cool. The thing is, I'm pretty sure that game runs at 60 frames, and unfortunately, I don't have a 120 hertz TV to allow me to run those games at 120 frames. That would be dope, but it's cool for people who can. It's nice.
Yeah, so if that's your thing, hop out there, play some games at 120 frames per second. If you don't happen to have an 120 frames per second, but you're like, hey, Jaron, what do I get? Well, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you just got MLB The Show. You will be getting something called Second Extinction. That's coming to Game Preview, and it'll be on cloud, console, and PC. There's something called Fogs going to PC.
Is Second Extinction, is that the dinosaur game?
That's the dinosaur game. Yep.
Yes, dude.
The day after the dinosaur game, on April 29th, Destroy All Humans comes to cloud, console, and PC. So I was waiting for that. I knew that game would eventually come to Game Pass. I'll probably hop on that.
Sorry, what was that game? I missed it because I was on the dinosaur.
Destroy All Humans.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then the games that will unfortunately be leaving Game Pass, Endless Legend. So if you want to grab those easy achievements on PC, boot that up. For the King, that was some interesting kind of dice rolling game that involved with an RPG. Looked kind of interesting. That game's out. Fractured Minds, also an easy achievement game if you want to grab that. Level Head, don't have any info on that. Never heard of it. Moving Out.
You don't have a level head, am I right?
Moving Out, that game looks fun.
It's moving out of game. Is it moving in though to Game Pass?
No, it's moving out.
It is moving out of Game Pass. Okay, all right. They know what they're about.
And then Thumper on PC. Those games will all be leaving Game Pass.
Dude, Thumper, I hardly know her. Am I right, Jared?
And the last Game Pass related news, here it is. console streaming is still coming to Xbox Game Pass. So if for some reason you were like, yo, I got this fancy console, I got Game Pass, I don't want to download things.
Yes, that's the main thing.
So maybe I need to play a game with my friends quick. I'm going to boot this up, console streaming, and I'm going to play along with them. There you go.
Yeah, just as something Phil had to say about this, this is from purexbox.com, and it's Daniel Hollis wrote this. He says, when asked if xCloud will be making its way to consoles in the future, Spencer reaffirmed, quote, at some point it will, but not yet. The but is in brackets, by the way, so it's implied. Anyway, he says this follows on from last year when he mentioned it was on, quote, they're on a, quote, long list of cool things that xCloud team is working on. So basically, Phil is confirming, it's like, yeah, the xCloud team just has a long list of fucking things they're doing and that they want to do. And so if you're not getting the thing you want, some shit's on the back burner, some shit's up on the forefront, and things are coming. xCloud. I would expect constant shit from this for the next, at least a year of just stuff happening.
Yeah.
They got this long
Soon.
list of things they're working on. They got a list, literally. It's like, man, they're probably not, I don't know. I assume a literal list of like, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do this. So keep expecting that news.
Yeah, the weird thing about this is, like, I get the convenience, but like the biggest knock against streaming is not great internet. And like, if you don't want to download games because you have not great internet, then this won't help you.
It's streaming. The number one thing about streaming is the thing with Google Stadia that they didn't know, which is that streaming is an additive service. Streaming cannot and should not, at least at this point, be the primary method of playing anything. It should be something that if you even if you just happen to feel like doing it today, you can, which is nice. And that's the main thing too. It's like, yeah, the internet thing, that's a whole thing, but it's like, yeah, if I don't want to download this whatever game it happens to be, game X, for 50 or 80 gigabytes, I can just try it out real quick.
Yep.
That's the main thing.
So there you go. That's all your Game Pass and FPS related boosting news.
Yeah.
The next topic on the docket, this one we're just going to give a brief explanation of and let you guys go watch the video if you want to know more. So the Hellblade 2 main actress, Melina Jurgens, she's been posting behind the scenes video detailing how she's preparing and training for the follow-up game, and it seems like they want to have a way more like in-depth focus on combat for this game, so she's doing all her own motion capture and a big chunk of her own stunts. And she has this YouTube diary where it's called Diary of a Digital Human.
Like human, but with two O's, so it's
Yep.
human. Straight up.
And she kind of just shows you everything that she's doing to get ready to give her best possible performance in Hellblade 2 to follow up, I believe, her Game Awards winning performance in Hellblade 1.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because if you guys know it, Ninja Theory is a first-party Xbox team now, and this is a first-party game and all this shit and IP. So they're working on that. If you want constant development updates from the main actress about the game, and that way you can go watch her diary series. She's training, and she's going to be more fighting focused, and she's going to be doing more of her own stunts, like Jaren said. And another thing is, I think they say in there that they want the game, she was talking to like the creators of the game, that they want the game to focus more on being real, like realistic, as opposed to, I guess, the first game in some ways in which it wasn't realistic. So this game is going to be one of a more realistic type experience.
It grounded.
And it's cool because she's also, I think, the video editor for the game, or for the,
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, they just pulled her out of the studio for the first game to be the person to like mocap and voice or whatever, but she actually is the video editor for Ninja Theory as well. So she video edits and then she does all that other shit. So cool for her.
And she also suffers from chronic pain.
Yeah, fibromyalgia, so she has muscle and joint pain.
Yeah, so this is her out there taking hits to get this game out there for you guys, and then after she takes all those hits, she goes and sits in video edits.
Yes.
So
she's a trooper. That's
yeah, if
cool.
anyone's dedicated to making this game as good as it can be, if most of the team has the same drive as she does to make it that good, then this game should be great.
Yeah, it's a true passion.
The last two quick stories in the X block. Xbox gets full mouse and keyboard support on Microsoft Edge. Yes, that does mean that you can use your mouse and keyboard to play all of your Google Stadia games, and maybe that Death Stranding if you want to hop on that.
Tom Warren on Twitter posted a video of him using it, and yeah, literally you can use, like Jaren said, keyboard and mouse on the Microsoft Edge, and that you can load up Stadia, obviously, in the browser. If you're in the Microsoft alpha skip ahead preview thing, and you have that new Chromium browser that they have, then you can, load up Stadia, and you can use games with mouse and keyboard support on there. So just get fucked even harder, Google Stadia. If you were irrelevant before, you're certainly irrelevant now.
Well, I guess they're still getting the money, right?
Who cares?
And the last X-Block related news. Xbox now tracks all time played in games. Kind of. There's a few exceptions. There was a Twitter thread talking about how Xbox now will track most of your time played in most games that you play. But there's a few that don't work. If you really want to know what those are, I assume you can go on the internet and find out. There's still a couple ones that are broken.
They had tracking in game, like time tracking in like every game in Xbox for a long time, like a year ago or so. They took it away for no reason, and now they, I guess, silently added it back, according to this gentleman on Twitter, and he like showed screenshots and shit, where you can now check your time played for all these games, except for certain ones like Battlefield, I think 4 maybe, and I think like Sunset Overdrive, and like one other, like a Tomb Raider game, like the original like Tomb Raider 2013. So
and I assume there'll be more found.
Yeah. So anyway, that's back apparently. You guys can look into it. It's Xbox news.
Yeah, that was the one downside that happened is they took out like most of the stat tracking thing like a while ago, and we kind of just got time played, and now that's all we have. Like, remember when games used to have like 12 different
they did.
Stat sections, and now you have to like go into the game to view them?
Yeah, like how many specific mini boss enemies did you kill? And you're like, I don't know. And they're like 58. And you're like, sure.
Yeah, so that stuff was like super interesting.
I'm with you. This is just part of that. They added stat tracking in that regard back to the time played.
Yep. Well, that's all for the X Block. Your Xbox related news that you need to know. Obviously, we'll have more of it next week, and there might even be a little bit more of it in the FAF. But the next thing we're moving on to is the X Factor discussion. And we're doing something a little bit different here, Caleb. I'm going to give you 2 stories, and you can decide what kind of topic we should talk about more.
Oh, I get to pick and choose this week. Okay.
Yep. So this one kind of blew up on Twitter when the Days Gone lead developer said, "Don't complain if there's no sequel if you didn't buy it at full price." So that's one of your choices. And then your other choice is something that we actually talked about last week, and now something that GameSpot has even published kind of their, I guess, like a think piece on. And it's not every sequel needs a grand new idea. And they're more talking about like F-Zero, but I'm extrapolating it to what we talked about when we were playing Saints Row, where you said the days of games of a sequel being made where it's kind of just the old map, but they're telling a brand new story.
I guess in terms of relevance, it's not particularly Xbox related. So, I mean, if you want it to be a little more generalized Xbox related, we could go with the second one. If you just want to talk about it and maybe tie it into Xbox a bit, we could also go with the Days Gone one.
Oh yeah, I don't even care about the Days Gone angle. I mean, do you agree with him in that you shouldn't complain if there's no sequel if you didn't buy the first game at full price?
That one is kind of almost a short discussion. Oh, I guess we're talking about it a bit now. But
okay, well, if we can tie that one up quick, then yeah, just hit the nail on the head and we'll do the other one.
This guy, I looked up the story real quick to get the quotes, and you know, because David Jaffe, was he creative director of God of War or just writer? I don't know. The head of
God of War.
Yeah, he made God of War. There you go. And he was talking to the guy who was a head at the Sony Bend working on Days Gone, and then he left sometime in the past, year or two or something?
Yeah, a while ago.
Seems a bit sour about it because they didn't greenlight a sequel to the game. And in an interview with David Jaffe, which other people reported on, he said, I quote, the Garvin said, "I do have an opinion on something that your audience may find of interest, and it might piss some of them off." And then Garvin said, again, quote, "If you love a game, buy it at fucking full price. I can't tell you how many times I've seen gamers say, yeah, I got that on sale. I got it through PS Plus, whatever. But how do you know you love a game until you've played it?" Jaffe responded. And that's it right there, that quote. But how do you know you love a game until you played it? Jaffe, and then the guy went on to say, quote, "I'm just saying you don't, but don't complain if a game doesn't get a sequel if it wasn't supported at launch." Garvin replied, "It's like God of War got whatever number of millions of sales at launch, and Days Gone didn't. I'm just speaking for me personally as a developer. I don't work for Sony. I don't know what the numbers are. I can tell you that when we are doing Siphon Filter Dark Mirror on PSP, we got so fucked on Dark Mirror because piracy was a thing and Sony wasn't really caught up on what piracy was doing to sales. And we would show them torrents. The torrent site had 200,000 copies of Dark Mirror being downloaded, if I remember it right. The numbers could be wrong, but regardless, I was pissed about it then. I was like, this is money out of my pocket. So I think the uptick in engagement with the game is not as important as did you buy the game at full price? Because if you did, then that's supporting the developers directly. Now, you'll notice back in the start of that when he said, if you love a game, buy it at full fucking price. And then David Jaffe said, but how do you know you love a game until you've played it? And then he said, I'm just saying you don't. And then he said so on and so forth. So he answered his own question. And that's the end of the conversation. Is like, if you love, it's like, it's your job to prove to gamers that they need to buy your game, that it's worth buying your game at full price. And it's not the gamer's fault if you release a new IP and then in this particular instance, say like Sony PR fucks your game by releasing it and giving it out for reviews before it's like patched and good, so that the reviewers didn't even play like the same game that launched and that got patched later. And that's Sony PR's fault. Then in this case, it's like, yeah, dude, that's not gamers' fault. It's like, you didn't buy it at full price. It's like, well, yeah, it's a new IP. It's like, like he said, if you love a game, buy it at full price. And David Jaffe said, how do you know if you love a game until you played it? And he's like, you don't. And it's like, well, that's it. That's the whole conversation. Everything else you said is irrelevant. So that's all I have to say about that.
Obviously, games need to be supported if you want a sequel, but
yeah,
that's also been what he said has been disproven over the last like 8 years. Basically, the entire games industry has shifted away from caring if you buy a game at full price almost to making sure that you buy a game down the line. Like, they support these games of service games for 2 years, and lots of times the game isn't even good until a year later.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And things like Game Pass, like Outriders was a new IP that came out, and that game launched in Game Pass because Microsoft paid them money to put it in Game Pass. And then the players who played it in Game Pass didn't buy it. And I would say regardless of the sales on PC or PlayStation, I would say even if that game only launched on Xbox, it wouldn't obviously even do as well nearly, but the point is it probably still would have been a success. And even though you have the option to buy it at full price on Xbox. So I think Game Pass throws a wrench in that too. Obviously, he's saying there are consequences, like, sure, if fucking 5 million more people bought the game full price, then you might have got a sequel. It's like, but maybe your game wasn't worth a sequel.
Yeah, I guess his point was that there's 50,000 people petitioning on change.org to have Days Gone uncanceled. And I guess his point was, if you would have bought it at full price, it wouldn't have been canceled.
Yeah, I would imagine a lot of those petitioners probably did.
They probably did, yeah. It's like, it's not like there's 18 million people petitioning. There's 50,000. I assume most of them bought it.
I don't know, it seems like he's just mad at the market. Like, you're not the first game that, you know, it came out at full price and then went on sale later. Like, I'm sorry, but that's been happening for 40 years. Like, you know, that's just how it works. It's like, he's right in that regard, but his point was, he prefaced it with, if you love a game. It's like, well, first of all, money means something to people. Like, for some people, $60, $70 is a lot of money. So you can't just spend it frivolously. And, you know, just to put money in your pocket, no matter how good the game is. It's like, maybe your PR team and stuff just didn't prove that the game was worth buying at full price. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we have a direct case study. Another game that was broken at launch that sold 14 million copies just came out a few months ago in Cyberpunk, and clearly their marketing team did fine.
Yeah, that game was broke, and they said I think like less than 0.5% of people asked for a refund who bought it, something like that. I may be wrong on that specific number. I would have to look it up. But
and also, I have a feeling Sony canceled Days Gone 2 due to the fact that it took them 8 years to make Days Gone 1.
It really did. It really did.
So
this is this is kind of less Xbox related in terms of the story, but it is a big news story that everybody was talking about. It's an interesting conversation topic, so I granted that. It's just this dude. I don't know, man. Buy it at full fucking price. It's like, yeah, we're not all millionaires. Like, sure, we don't get a Days Gone, you know, PlayStation fans don't get a Days Gone sequel now. But, I mean, God of War came out and people bought that at full price, maybe because they were more excited for it. Like, I don't know what you want from me.
Especially since Xbox has literally given up on making us buy games at full price. They're in Game Pass.
They're changing the market in that way. Xbox is like, we're at this point, Microsoft was like, you just pay us a monthly subscription and we will subsidize your purchase of games. So Microsoft pays the developers and publishers, depending, upfront to put their game on a service, and then we just pay Microsoft. You could say $15 a month. You could say $90 in a year if you buy 4 3-month codes half off on Black Friday, and you just buy them in advance. So you pay for a AAA game and a half. That's not sustainable if everyone does that. But if you're a savvy consumer who's really into this shit, like me and Jaren, you can do that, and then and then in that instance, Jaren and I are basically letting other people subsidize our cost to Microsoft for Microsoft to buy the games for us. So
yeah, and I'm fine if your game gets canceled.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? I mean, that's kind of mean to say. It sucks, but Sony Bend isn't going anywhere. It sucks that the studio doesn't get to work on what they want to work on, it seems.
I thought Days Gone looked cool. I still haven't played it. If I get a PS5 and I get that PlayStation Plus collection and it's in there, then I'll play it.
Knowing it's patched and what people think about it, Jeremy, would you buy it at full price?
No, I don't. I wouldn't buy most games at full price though. So
that's what I'm saying. Jaren and I do not resonate with this argument. It's like, support what you want to support, and I do. Like, I would, if Halo Infinite wasn't in Game Pass when it came out, I would buy it at full price, and I don't buy almost any games at full price. But savvy consumers, especially in this day and age, know that if you wait 2 or 3 months after a game comes out, it won't only cost you less money, it'll be a better product. And that's not our fault either. Maybe more people would buy a game full price if when it released, it was done. Like in the old days, like maybe even not like 2010 even, but maybe not at that point even, but maybe before that. And when games weren't being patched as much or patched after release, games just fucking came out. So the game wasn't getting any better at that point. It was the game. So I could play the game now or I could play the game later. But the math has changed because with Outriders, for instance, there were a lot of fucking bugs, and there still are some bugs, but fewer bugs, and a bug that made your inventory fucking get lost 100 hours in. Now, Outriders in this case is nice because they're like, well, we're going to re-roll your inventory and give it back to you and shit. There's a whole news story about that we didn't cover, but the point is that, and that's just one game, but the point is that games nowadays, almost 99% of the time, Days Gone being one of those examples, even if they're single player games that aren't multiplayer, get better after launch. They get patched and they get improved because developers don't release finished products. They release products that then get improved on. It's usually publishers who tell them to release a game at a certain time. But it's weird when they're first party games because you would think you could just hold a first party game until it's fucking done. That's not what Sony did. I guess
you don't want to hold it for 9 years though.
Yeah, you don't. That's for sure too. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's part of it. You can't say buy a game at full price. It's like, dude, your game got reviewed, not bombed. The people were like disappointed in your game when it came out because the reviews came out and they're like, this game's broken with these bugs and it's this and this. And then lo and behold, it was better by the day it came out. So the reviews were kind of irrelevant. And then lo and behold, it had like a patch 1.4, 1.5, whatever. And the game got better and better over the next few months. And so people who paid $40, $30 for your game got a better game. So what do you want from them? Is your argument to pay for a $60, $70 game, but you get to play it first, but it's worse? Or you can wait 2 to 3 months and buy a $40 game and it's better and it doesn't break. It's like, what are you asking? You know?
Yep, we both agree on this. So.
Even if I love the game at that point, it's like, well, yeah, I want to play the non-broken version though. And it's like, well, it's not totally broken. It's like, yeah, but you're not telling me that it's not going to get better and that I will pay less money. Anyway.
Yep, that all makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a whole discussion. It's a lot going on. There's probably even more to talk about, but we don't need to go too much deeper into that story. Game Pass is great. Microsoft at this point is subsidizing our cost of games so that we don't have to pay full price for them. And you can say that can do this and that can do that later on, whatever, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. The point is, for me as a consumer right now with limited means, it makes so much financial sense for me that it's not even fucking funny.
Well, Caleb, I'll give you 2 minutes to give me your take on the other story.
The other story was that games...
Not every sequel needs a grand new idea.
I agree with that. And I think the spark for this conversation was probably me telling Jaren about this earlier in the week, which was that I was playing Saints Row 4 Re-Elected. And I forgot that it's just the map is the same map as Steelport from Saints Row 3, but it's changed and it's different a bit. And the game has new features and you have superpowers now. And I was talking to him about how I found it interesting that I didn't care that it was the same map as the previous game that I just played. That the environment was familiar and I already knew it. And it's so much different from games that come out nowadays where the map is totally different. It's bigger, it's better, it's this and that. And I was like, well, for Saints Row 4 Re-Elected, like, even though I was just going back getting all the challenges, it brought me back to another era with like, even Crackdown did this with Pacific City for like, I think it was Pacific City is the name of it in Crackdown 1 and 2. But it's the same map. But things change and it gets a little different, but they don't increase the size or anything. And instead they focus resources from creating such a whole unique environment to going back into the game itself and maybe even the story or somewhat and changing some different dynamics of the moment-to-moment gameplay and interactions that can make the game better. And I forgot how much more I liked Saints Row 4 than Saints Row 3. And I just found it interesting that it's the same map with just, other adjustments, like minor differences. Obviously Saints Row 4 Re-Elected's in a simulation and there's like all these things going on. But me personally, it may depend on who you are. I'm a fan actually, and I kind of miss games where it's like, oh, this is the exact same map as the previous game, but it's different and it doesn't need to be a huge game. Even it doesn't even need to be a full price game, which I think is something you mentioned to me before, where it's like, yeah, at that point, maybe it does warrant a $40 game instead of like a full $60, $70 game. But anyway, I forgot that games used to do that. in that more AA space. And I think it's pretty cool. I like those games.
Yep. We basically agree similarly on why it's good and why it can be good.
It can be bad too if the game sucks.
It can obviously be lazy where they just kind of don't want to do as much work, or the publisher pushes them to get a game out quicker, and you get
That's true too. Yeah.
That whole 1 year effect where if they're making a game every year, they might have to reuse the same assets. So if you get into that life cycle where it's like every sequel that you make is an iteration, then sure. Like I said, my only criticism is if you're gonna give me this, if you're gonna take a break off content and you're gonna give me a map that I've already been to, a map that I'm familiar with, and all you're gonna change is the story, then yeah, I don't want to pay full price for the game.
Yeah, that's fair. It depends on the game. It's so specific, but for me, and even talking about it, I was just talking about from Saints Row 3 to Saints Row 4, and then thinking of Crackdown to Crackdown 2, and I was like, yeah, those are really good like really good sequels, even though they didn't change the map basically at all. And yeah, you're right. There are a lot of pitfalls with that kind of thought pattern, and it could be pretty lazy, but
yeah,
as long as that energy is still put into the game, but just in different places. And maybe it even does take a little less time to develop, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. Then
yeah, it's very case by case.
Yeah, it is case by case, and yeah, a lot of times in the X Factors, or sometimes rather, Jaron and I disagree on stuff, but it seems this week we have similar thoughts on things, which is probably why we're friends. We probably think relatively similarly.
And now we're gonna give a quick run through of Game Pass or gameplay. Essentially, all it is every month at the beginning of the month, the first episode of the month, we spin a wheel with Game Pass games on it, ones that we haven't played. They fit some criteria. If you want to know the really in-depth, I will break it down on the next episode. We land on a game and we play it. This month's game was Spiritfarer. I've played it a little. Caleb hasn't installed it, and that's where we're at. And now we're going to move on to the FAF.
Next month, we'll review it.
Yep, and we'll review it pretty much next episode, I think.
Next week, yeah.
So, and also, a quick summary of the FAF. The FAF is essentially the news that you shouldn't care about enough to read it. So we're here to explain it to you in a quick and comedic way that hopefully makes it more digestible.
It's all a bunch of faff.
And it could be news that you like. And if that
Still
offends
faff.
you, it's still faff. All right, Caleb. You know what to do.
The first one, Jaron, is called, and for those of you who don't know, I have no idea what these stories are. Jaron just writes things in the doc, and I read them, and then he tells me what the fucking news is. The first one is Our Kind of Faff, which is a returning segment, I think. I think I remember that one. Yeah, returning faff.
Jared, bringing it back from last week. Rejoice, Caleb.
I'm rejoicing.
Xbox mini fridges are one step closer to reality.
Dude, I'm so excited. Jaron, they were like, we're making progress on this shit. No one should care about this, but those of you who don't know, Jaron and I started the podcast because we wanted an Xbox Series X fridge. And Jaron, have they come and gone, teasing our fucking asses, man. They were like, they're here. They sent them to certain influencers, and we're like, we want that. And then they went away. And then The Rock was like, I have my own line of Series X fridges. And we're like, yo, fridges? And they sent them out, and they're like, all right, no more. I'm like, Then there was this whole Twitter thing, and Skittles was fighting Xbox to be like the best Twitter, some bullshit or other. And Xbox went, you know what? If we win this competition, we will make, against Skittles, we will make more Series X mini fridges, like our own line, another line. And then they won, and now they are, and they're in the works, and it's exciting.
Oh, dude, it's super exciting.
If any of you have a Series X mini fridge or fridge out there, or you acquire one and you want to send it to us, hit us up on Twitter at XBlock Podcast and let us know. Give us some information, some info. We'll trade infos, and you can send us a fridge.
Yep, and I'm still waiting on a reply from Bill Gates.
Yeah. If you want to see what Jaron tweeted at Bill Gates, go check out the XBlock Podcast official Twitter at XBlock Podcast.
Next up in Our Kind of Faff, It Takes Two selling 1 million copies shows that players want co-op only games. That's what Joseph Ferris says, and I agree with him. That's pretty much it.
We love Joseph Ferris. Dude, we'll talk about it more, but I forgot to talk about what we were playing when we did talk about it. Jared and I have been playing It Takes Two, and we're probably close to done with the game. The game's pretty long, surprisingly long actually, but it doesn't matter because I'm having a great time. That game is one of the best games I've ever played in my life. So
it's
throw
great.
That out there.
We'll definitely bring it up next week when we probably finish it.
Yeah. Shout out to Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph, you're my boy. All right, Caleb, you can move on.
Oh, dude, my favorite returning segment because I hate it. The Duty Department, Time Rewind, Nukes, Sad Devs. in keeping with current Call of Duty titles.
I even added an extra one just for fun.
I know, it's 4.
Essentially, we're going to power through these ones quick because there's too many of them. Warzone director upset cheaters are ruining some of the best work in his life. That's what he said. All I say to that is to just make the game better. Just get rid of the cheaters.
When you're done with the duty department, let me know. I have a short anecdote that's really funny. It's really funny, and it's literally unbelievable. You won't believe it. But okay, go ahead.
So yeah, if you don't want cheaters, then fix your fucking game.
Amen.
New Warzone map accidentally goes live early for some players. Essentially, what happened, I can even break down the rest of the stories. Call of Duty was finishing up Warzone for this season. They were like, we're finishing it. They dropped the nuke on it. Everybody went, whoa, a nuke. Then people spawned on an island next to Verdansk for a bit, and they would fight there, and they would watch the nuke in the distance. Then Call of Duty said, yo, we're going to go back to 1984, and this is going to be Verdansk in the past.
This is like Lost.
Yep. So the new Warzone map is Verdansk in the past, and all I can say to that is at least Call of Duty knows when they were better, and it's in the past.
Aha, I got him, Joe. Yo, you kids are too young. You didn't watch Lost, but my joke that I made, 100% on point. I know you didn't watch Lost, but I did.
The last two pieces of Duty Department news, Call of Duty Warzone has topped 100 million players. Bunch of losers. Call of Duty Warzone PS5 and Xbox Series X versions are in development. There you go. All right, Caleb, what'd you want to say?
Dude, so my friends and I, Austin and Juwan, shout out to Austin and Juwan, we play Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the multiplayer, the 2020 game. Is it 2020? No. Yes. Wait. No. Did Black Ops Cold War come out in 2020? Yes. So the 2019 game, right? Yeah, Modern Warfare. Anywho, we play... Are you still there, Jared, by the way?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I was just letting you ramble.
Okay, so we've been playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare online, and we play the multiplayer, and we just have fun dicking around. Although the game has gotten boo-boo since launch, we're still good at it, and it's fun, and we play Search and Destroy, and I go 14-3 every game, humble brag. We were playing, and you know how they keep updating the game and breaking it?
Yep.
Well, this time, dude, with the Season 3 update, we were playing, a couple nights ago, whenever it was, I don't know, and... When, in Search and Destroy, you play 3 rounds, then it says switching sides.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, in big white text, as a subtitle almost, under the screen that shows the score and it says switching sides. Dude, under that, I don't know if it's every time or sometimes, because I usually don't pay attention enough to notice, but at least a couple times it pops up, in a pretty decently large white text under the switching sides banner. It says switching _sides/MP. In the game. The code pops up on the screen in the game on the thing that's popping up switching sides, and it's switching _sides/MP. And
wow.
So that's how broken the fucking game is. And sometimes, a game ends and we just get kicked back to the main menu and our party ends. And now when we I invite everybody back to the game, in the in game, I'll just, they'll load back in and we'll just be switching _sides/MP. And so that game fucking sucks.
And that is the end of the Duty Department. Hit us with the next one, Caleb.
Little people, big world.
Lord of the Rings Online Hobbit player hits level cap by baking millions of pies.
That's awesome.
Also, Lord of the Rings related news, Amazon has canceled its Lord of the Rings MMO due to a dispute with Tencent.
That's Tencent being shitty again. I'll just say... Lord of the Rings Online. Apparently, you don't even need another Lord of the Rings MMO, because Lord of the Rings Online is where it's at. I don't play it, but my boy Yoiston from Men of the West, shout out to the Men of the West YouTube channel, who talks about everything Lord of the Rings and Tolkien lore related. That dude plays Lord of the Rings Online, and he gives it a big thumbs up, which means I give it a big thumbs up.
And fuck Tencent.
Fuck you with your Chinese communist money.
All right, Caleb.
Jared, that's the thing. I just want to say real quick, Jared, that's the thing about China that people don't understand. China, as a government, the government of China, owns the corporations of that country. So any Chinese corporation like Tencent investment into other things is directly tied to the Chinese government's investment in other things. The authoritarian, shitty government that persecutes Uyghur Muslims and fucking work camps and all this other shit. So I just want to throw that out there. That's why we don't like Tencent. It's not because they're Chinese, and we don't like, it's not even Chinese people. We like Chinese people. Chinese people are cool, but it's just the Chinese communist authoritarian government that we don't like sticking their money in everywhere in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. And they're worse to Chinese people than they are to us. So they're not even good to their own people.
Yeah, I know, right? It's fucking a whole thing.
Next up,
Empty words and full pockets. That's poetic.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla team acknowledges recent updates haven't met expectations. Essentially, they said, "Our bad, will be better."
Is that true? What's
Yep.
wrong with them?
Apparently, they just don't live up to expectations. They have bugs, they come out, they're issues, they need to be tested longer, blah, blah, blah. They're going to be better in the future.
So what you're saying is it's a good thing I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I haven't played it yet either.
Well, I didn't say you did. I'm just saying that's what you're saying. Is that it's a good thing I haven't played it yet because it's only going to get better and better.
Well, according to them, we'll see. Because as we know, that's why it's called empty words, full pockets.
Okay, that's a great point, Jaron. We'll see.
Because everybody says the same thing. Also, in other news, after Cyberpunk 2077 launch, CD Projekt Red says it learned a huge lesson. Sound similar?
I doubt they did, dude. I really do. They made so much bank. What did they announce again? Didn't they announce some news this week about how much money they made? Did you see that?
They sold 13.7 million units.
Is that last year or just up to now?
That's of Cyberpunk 2077.
That's a shit ton of fucking units, dude. Anywho.
Yep. And as they talk about how much they've learned, they also lied about the amount of refunds that they've given. They said 30,000 refunds were given for Cyberpunk 2077, but they did it in a very misleading way that only refers to their refund program that they did themselves, where they only lost $2.23 million apparently, but actually they've lost $51.2 million to refunds.
There you go. Jaron, I want to let you know something. You need to shut the fuck up right now because they learned their lesson, all right? So it's not misleading at all. You're misleading. Shut up.
Empty words, full pockets. All right, next story, Caleb.
The reason people think gamers are virgins. Hey.
Fortnite had more players than any other game on PlayStation or Xbox in March.
I don't like that.
That's it. That's all. That's why. You're all playing Fortnite. That's why every woman looks at the gaming industry and goes, that guy didn't get slept with. They're right, because all of you are playing Fortnite.
Tell it like it is, Jared.
Whenever someone says, "Hey, do you play Fortnite?" to me, I say, "Nah, my dick's big."
That's not... I don't know if those things are related, but good for you, man.
All right. Next up.
One sentence reactions. Still thinking about that Fortnite news.
All right, Caleb, give me your one sentence reactions to these to close out the show.
Oh, okay.
Ubisoft announces new Assassin's Creed projects, but no new games. They're going to make podcasts, books, and graphic novels.
Dude, Ubisoft, more like UB hard for these graphic novels.
All right. Among Us dev reveals the impact of going on Jimmy Fallon. Apparently it was nothing. The game got no bump in engagement at all. It's already huge.
Who cares about Jimmy Fallon?
No one. That's literally what she said.
That is the experiment run, and the answer given is that no one cares about Jimmy Fallon. Audi concept cars headlights can project video games onto walls. I'm so excited.
Nintendo of America and its president Doug Bowser are suing hacker Gary Bowser.
I don't even know what to think about that.
It sounds made up, right?
Bowser's suing Bowser.
It sounds super made up.
It does. I don't know what I have no comment. I feel like that story speaks for itself.
And finally, this wasn't originally in the FAF, but I thought, one more dunk on Sony, why not? 6 Days in Fallujah was reportedly in development at Sony Santa Monica at one point.
I believe it. Let's put it that way.
And that is all for the X Block podcast today.
That was a good FAF segment, Jaron.
It was actually a pretty good.
You did a
FAF
good
segment.
job. That was a good one.
If you would like to follow us on our other platforms, you can check us out at XBlock Podcast on Twitter, at XBlock Podcast on Instagram, the XBlock Podcast on YouTube, at XBlock Podcast on TikTok, where I make some TikToks for you guys to watch and laugh at.
They're really good. If you want to laugh at me for being stupid, go watch Jaren's TikToks. They're awesome.
Yep, there you go. I've got the praise of my co-host. And other people like them too. They do get a decent amount of likes. Also, you can go check us out on Patreon. What's that one called, Caleb?
Patreon.com/xblockpodcast, where you can give us any money, any amount of money you want, which we would greatly appreciate. It goes directly back into the show because Jaren edits this podcast every week on a laptop, and that's old and not great. And it would really be helpful if we could get him a PC so that he can edit the podcast much faster and much more efficiently. And Jaren, what's our motto?
The only tiers that are on our Patreon are mine while I edit the podcast. And if you'd like to listen to us on a different platform than you happen to be listening to us here, if you happen to be on YouTube, you can also go and find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Those are the main three, really.
Yeah, wherever you are, wherever you listen. We're on CastBox, right? Other things?
Yeah, we're on CastBox.
Wherever. Just look around for
you
us.
know.
But if wherever you listen, leave us a nice review. If it's on YouTube, leave us a like. If it's on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review if you want. We like it. It helps us with the algorithms and things. Leave a comment. Tell us on YouTube or Twitter how we're doing or whatever. And also, you can follow me at XBlockCaleb, and I will retweet some things from the XBlock podcast, and I will tweet out whatever articles I write, because I write gaming news articles now, and maybe some other funny things that you will find interesting.
There you go. XBlock out.
Thanks for listening to the X Block. New episodes every Monday at 5 a.m.